Scarborough Shoal, a small ring of reefs in the South China Sea, has become a major point of conflict between China and the Philippines. Though it appears minor on a map, its location, just 220 kilometers off the Philippine coast, places it well within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. For generations, Filipino fishermen have relied on these rich fishing grounds for their livelihoods and the nation's food security. The shoal's strategic position also makes it crucial for maritime control and international trade, with trillions in commerce passing through each year. China claims nearly the entire South China Sea, including Scarborough Shoal, based on its controversial 9-dash line, directly overlapping with Philippine rights. In 2012, after a tense standoff, China took control of the shoal and has since restricted Filipino access, turning it into a symbol of a larger geopolitical struggle. For the Philippines, defending Scarborough is about sovereignty and survival. For China, it's about projecting power and securing its maritime periphery. This clash of interests keeps the area volatile and unpredictable, with every patrol or fishing trip carrying the risk of confrontation. The standoff is a daily reality for those at sea, and a critical test for international law and regional stability. The actions of China, the Philippines, and their partners will determine if this dispute can be managed peacefully, or if it will escalate into a wider conflict. The world is watching as this maritime drama unfolds. Scarborough Shoal remains a flashpoint with global consequences. Tensions at Scarborough Shoal have spiked with China's repeated use of high-pressure water cannons against Philippine vessels. These powerful blasts can damage ships and endanger crews, turning routine patrols and fishing missions into dangerous encounters. China's goal forces Philippine vessels to retreat from disputed waters. For the Philippines, these patrols are a legitimate exercise of sovereign rights. For China, they're an intrusion. Each encounter is fraught with risk, and the use of water cannons has drawn international condemnation for escalating the conflict. Filipino crews face constant stress and uncertainty, knowing they're up against larger, more aggressive Chinese ships. Manila has responded by publicizing these incidents, seeking international support and exposing Beijing's tactics. Despite protests, the confrontations continue, eroding regional stability and making diplomacy harder. The water cannons are a clear signal. China is willing to use force, short of war, to enforce its claims. This brinkmanship keeps the region on edge, with each clash raising the stakes. The risk of escalation grows with every encounter. China's dominance at Scarborough Shoal is built on overwhelming maritime presence. A constant fleet of Coast Guard and maritime militia vessels creates a de facto blockade, controlling access and intimidating Philippine ships. The Philippines, with fewer resources and a vast coastline to patrol, struggles to match China's numbers. This imbalance allows China to wear down Philippine resolve through persistent pressure. Chinese ships are always on station day and night, making it nearly impossible for Philippine vessels to approach undetected. The maritime militia, blending civilian and military roles, swarms the area and complicates any response. This strategy not only blocks Filipino fishermen but also challenges the authority of the Philippine state. Every blocked vessel is a public display of Chinese control. The Philippines faces a stark choice: concede the area or risk confrontation. China's maritime dominance drives the ongoing cycle of tension. The conflict has moved beyond the water's surface. Now, confrontations occur in the air as well. Chinese military aircraft have flown dangerously close to Philippine patrol planes, raising the risk of accidents or miscalculation. At sea, China's Navy increasingly joins standoffs, signaling a willingness to use military force to back its claims. This multi-domain pressure campaign is designed to intimidate the Philippines and assert Chinese dominance. The presence of warships and military aircraft shortens the fuse for potential conflict. Each new incident increases the risk of a rapid escalation. The South China Sea is now a crowded, contested space for both coast guards and armed forces. At the heart of the dispute is a clash over international law. In 2016, an international tribunal ruled in favor of the Philippines, invalidating China's 9-dash line and affirming Scarborough Shoal as a traditional fishing ground. China rejected the ruling, leaving the Philippines with a legal victory, but little practical change on the water. The US and the Philippines are bound by a mutual defense treaty, with Washington affirming that it covers attacks on Philippine vessels in the South China Sea. To reinforce this, the US has increased joint patrols, military exercises, and access to bases in the Philippines. The goal: deter Chinese aggression by making clear that any attack could draw in the US military. This support has emboldened Manila but also risks pulling the US into direct conflict with China. Frequent clashes at sea mean the conditions for invoking the treaty could arise at any moment. Both Manila and Washington must carefully balance deterrence with the risk of escalation. The US alliance is a double-edged sword, crucial for Philippine security but fraught with danger. International law and the US alliance are central to this high-stakes drama. The world's attention is fixed on how these commitments will be tested. The outcome could reshape the region's future. In Washington, debate rages over how to handle the South China Sea. The current US strategy is strong deterrence, a visible military presence, public treaty commitments, and coalition building to counter China. Supporters argue only credible force can check Beijing's ambitions. Critics warn this approach risks unnecessary escalation and entangles the US in a dispute far from home. They advocate restraint, focusing on diplomacy, helping the Philippines build its own defenses, and encouraging regional solutions. A restraint policy would prioritize de-escalation and crisis management, not constant military readiness. The challenge: support an ally and uphold international law without triggering war. As tensions rise, the debate over deterrence versus restraint grows more urgent. Finding the right balance is critical for peace and stability. With tensions high, de-escalation is the region's most urgent need. The risk of miscalculation or accident is ever present, threatening a wider crisis. Reliable communication channels, hotlines, and clear protocols are essential to prevent misunderstandings at sea and in the air. Crisis management builds trust and predictability in a contested environment. Beyond that, genuine diplomacy is needed, shifting from confrontation to conversation. The Philippines and China must find ways to discuss overlapping claims and negotiate practical arrangements, like fishing rights. The international community, including the US, should facilitate dialogue, not fuel conflict. Regional stability depends on moving away from zero-sum thinking. The 2016 tribunal ruling offers a legal basis for peaceful negotiation. De-escalation is the only responsible path to long-term peace and prosperity. The confrontations in the South China Sea follow a clear pattern of aggressive Chinese tactics. Philippine vessels face dangerous maneuvers, blocking, shadowing, and even ramming by larger Chinese ships. These actions violate maritime safety rules and put Filipino crews at risk. Such tactics are not isolated, they're seen across the region, especially near outposts like Second Thomas Shoal. The consistency suggests a centrally directed policy from Beijing, not rogue captains. The goal: make it too risky for the Philippines to maintain its presence. Every patrol or resupply mission becomes a high-stakes standoff. The constant threat is exhausting and increases the chance of mistakes. Despite global attention, China's behavior remains unchanged. Each incident raises the risk of a tragic outcome. The standoff persists because the core issues remain unresolved. China sees control of the South China Sea as vital to its security and prestige. Backing down would be a major defeat. The Philippines, backed by international law and US support, refuses to cede its rights and sovereignty. This deadlock is compounded by US involvement, turning a regional dispute into a great power contest. China views US presence as interference, fueling a cycle of escalation. Every US operation prompts a strong Chinese response and vice versa. The two giants are locked in a tense dance, with the Philippines caught in the middle. For all sides, the cost of backing down seems higher than the risk of pushing forward. As long as these positions hold, the South China Sea will remain a perilous flashpoint. Without a diplomatic breakthrough or shift in strategy, the cycle of confrontation will continue. The world waits for a solution that remains elusive.